Guys, I've got a problem. I've got this bonnet. It's got damage on it. It looks terrible. But do you know what? I haven't got the skills, the time, or the equipment to repair it. I can't spray the whole bonnet. I need another solution. The job needs to be done pretty quick, pretty cheap, and ideally with an aerosol can, because I ain't got no spray guns or anything like that. In this action-packed video, you're going to learn how to repair, prepare, paint and finish a spot repair on a large panel on your car. So it all began here, and obviously this van is in a sorry state, and this is just one of the repairs that I need to do on it. No 2-bucket method and grit guards with this one, guys. No, straight out with the yard brush, some strong chemical, and I'm going to give it a really good scrub. Not recommended to do on something that's half decent or your pride and joy. So immediately after scrubbing it with the wrong tool, I held the jet wash too close to the panel and blasted all the crud off it, because I need to see exactly what we're dealing with. Once it was dried off, I could see the paint condition, and I realised it was in absolutely terrible condition and rough as a badger's behind. So I blasted some really smelly chemical on it. In this country we call this tar and glue, and this hopefully should remove all this glue residue. As usual, I got really impatient, so I just got a plastic filler spreader off and scraped it all off. This method was quick, but it was rough, so I knew that it'd probably be scratching the bonnet, but I didn't care because the bonnet was scratched anyway. With the decontamination stage done, I can now have a look at what we're dealing with, and it looks like we've got a bit of a strange hole in the bonnet. I say strange because it looks like somebody's filled it with some bathroom sealant or silicone. So, as always with life, you start poking around and then you get yourself in trouble. Oh, lovely. Just stick a bit of chewing gum in there, Dave. Be right. Not to be too defeated or disheartened, I thought let's cheer myself up by doing a bit of a 50-50 shot. So I got my rotary buffer out, stuck a cutting pad on it, dabbed some polish around and basically just started buffing it. I only did one pass with the buffing machine, so it's not going to be perfect, but the 50-50 reveal, well, it cheered me up anyway, because I thought, look at the difference, look at the light reflecting, completely different. But it was time to get back to reality, and we need to try and repair this. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is where the butchery begins, because I've got my drill out, I've got an 80 grit sanding disc stuck to a backing plate and adapter, and now I'm going to start basically sanding straight into this paint. And it didn't take me long to be pretty much down to bare metal, and now I can see, well, more damage. So I blew it off. Not with an airline, with my mouth, and then I rubbed over it, which is a really bad idea because I could have caught my palm on that rust. And then also another bad idea, I decided to start tapping it down, which really was a bad idea because it all pretty much started to crumble behind where obviously the chip had been filled with bathroom silicone or whatever it was. The method I was trying to do there was just to tap down the metal a little bit so there's a little bit of a divot to put some filler in, but it didn't work because obviously the panel's rusty behind it. It was a really bad idea. So yes, that is super glue, and I don't know what you're going to think of the next bit, but I have done a full video on it on a wing mirror and it worked pretty well actually. Because there is a hole in a panel that is rusty, and effectively I should be cutting the whole area out, but we're just trying to patch this up and make it something like. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a barrier with this super glue, and then I'm going to sprinkle some baking soda over it, and that should skin over the rust and just give us a bit of time to get this repaired, and it should last a little while, and I've tried it a few times before and it's actually quite effective. So there she is, the sodium bicarbonate, bicarbonated soda. I'm just sprinkling it on the wet super glue, and I'm going to sprinkle a little bit on that because there's a little hole there as well, and yeah, that looks nice. The idea with this is you put a bit of glue on it, bicarbonate of soda, a bit more glue, layer it up as I'm doing here, and each time it layers up, the mixture of the two form a really hard, solid cement. The idea with this method is that you create a layer, a solid layer, and you can keep building that up pretty much as you want. It dries in seconds. Once the glue and the baking soda mix together, it's sort of a potent chemical reaction and it forms pretty much like a cement. One final layer of glue just to solidify it all up. I actually decided to start trying to scrape it with a scraper blade to try and take the top of it, but I got really bored of that, so I got the drill back out. With a 120 grit sanding disc, I think it was, that made pretty much light work of the glue cement solution that we've made with the baking soda and the super glue. And yeah, it had filled the hole and it's created a bit of a barrier. Hopefully the rust might struggle to penetrate it a bit and it might buy us a bit more time with this repair. I decided at this point to have a little tidy up, so we've obviously not got a compressor or airline, so I've got the Henry Hoover out and basically just sucked away all the dust. Now, because we're dealing with rust and bare metal with a bit of rust on it, I've been using this stuff quite a few times on some projects, and to be fair, visually it seems to do what it says on the tin. It's a rust inhibitor, so hopefully it's going to hold back that rust for a little bit longer. My advice when you're doing a full panel spot repair like we're doing is to make sure that the rest of the panel, even though you're not going to paint it, is in reasonable condition. Nice and clean and contaminant free in case you have to make the repair bigger than you originally thought. Panel now clean and prepared, rust inhibitor doing its job, it's time to move on to the next stage. The next stage is we're going to apply a little bit of filler to the area just to make sure it's nice and smooth, because it needs to be really smooth, really flat, ready for the next stage. I'm using U-Pole Fantastic Body Filler. You can use whatever filler you want. I've put links in the description to any products used. This is a 2-pack filler, so there is 2 components to it. You need to mix them together. Once they are mixed together, they will begin to set. So you've got a small amount of working time to use the product before it starts going hard. Apply the filler to the panel. Doesn't have to be perfect, it just needs to sit a little bit proud. I've left this filler for about half an hour in normal temperature conditions, about 20 degrees, something like that, maybe a bit less, and that's roughly about how long it's going to take to fully set so you can sand it. I usually sand filler with 120 grit and then I work my way down or up, however you want to say it, to about 400 grit, ready for the next stage. Back out with the Hoover again, obviously filler dust, make sure you wear a mask, it goes everywhere, it's really messy, so you want to be tidying that up before the next stage. This stage is called Grey Scotch and we're keying up the smooth panel. We need to key it up so that the paint applications stick to it. Ideally, you're only keying up to roughly where you want your paint job to end. So that's sort of your decision based on the size of the damage, the colour of the car, how big or small you want to do the repair. I just recommend that you do leave enough room for primer, paint and lacquer applications. Don't stress too much right now in the video at this stage of the repair, because you'll start to see how big I do the repair, why I do it that sort of size once you see the paint applications going down in the next stages. So we'll just proceed with the next part of the video. I'm currently masking up this section of the repair because the next stage of the process is we need to apply some primer. You need to apply some primer because it's not good practice and it won't last if you directly paint base coat and other top coats over filler or bare metal or plastic surfaces. So I'm just using obviously some sheeting to mask the whole front end off. You can use newspaper, whatever you've got, just make sure you sufficiently cover the area to stop the overspray. I'm also using masking tape, which I'm sort of rolling in half backwards to create a soft edge, because it just saves on the sanding stages having a hard line. So just a little tip there for you, just roll the masking tape back and stick it on. Try and keep this area fairly small, obviously make sure you cover the filler and whatever you're trying to cover. A little tip is if you can find some primer that's a similar colour to your car, i.e. this one's a white primer, it just makes the paint application go over a bit easier the next stage. We don't want to be creating a massive area because that means we're going to have to make a bigger and bigger repair. So just try and keep everything quite tight and quite tidy. I'm just using a couple of coats of primer on this job, and I'm just kind of blowing a bit of hot air over it with the heat gun, or you can use a hairdryer, and that just kind of aids the drying a little bit. Read the back of the can of the primer that you're using, just follow the instructions, leave enough time in between coats, leave enough time in between the next stage after you've primered it. Obviously we don't want to be trying to sand down primer that's wet, so just allow yourself a bit of time, a bit of patience, because it goes a long way with painting things. Trying to rush things never works out. So at this stage now in the video, I'm just demasking the area. So now you can start to see that the area is going to be bigger than the primer area. So I'm just going to mask out the area exactly the same as last time with the primer. I'm rolling back the masking tape, I'm creating a soft edge. This kind of stops any hard lines. I've seen it so many times with DIY repairs. Someone's just done a straight masking and obviously you've got a hard line, and we're trying to avoid that. We're trying to create a little tunnel effect so it kind of fades in. With the area roughly masked off, the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm just going to try and smooth out that primer. I'm going to sand it down with a bit of sandpaper. You can use wet and dry, 800's okay, 1000's okay, it depends what you've got. We're aiming to not only make it smooth, but just as importantly is we're feathering out the edges of the primer. So again, we don't want any hard lines, it's got to be nicely feathered out. Once you're happy with your sanding and feathering out, it's time to make sure that the panel's clean, and I'm using some panel wipe from Paint Gear. This is a degreaser, it's solvent based. You might have something slightly different. As long as it's for cleaning panels, we need it immaculate for the paint applications to go on without any reactions. I like to do this stage with maybe 2 bits of rag or tissue paper, one to wipe it on, one to wipe it off. Okay, so this is actually one of the most important stages of this repair. What I'm doing here is I'm using this paper roll, and exactly the same as the masking tape, I'm folding it in half to create a really rounded soft edge, and that is going to form a sort of tunnel for the lacquer clear coat to hopefully sort of feather into and blend into. We really don't want any hard lines at that stage of the repair. This area needs to be pretty much roughly around the area that you've scotched up to, because it's going to be the end of the repair that we're doing. So I've just switched over to my chest mount phone holder, so the screen might look a little different. I've just gone to 0.6 zoom as well, so you can get a bit of a bigger picture. So we're just going to start base coating the area now. So that's the white paint, obviously the van's white. I've had this colour matched paint done by Paint Gear, so hopefully it should match all right. Sometimes whites can be a bit tricky, so got to bear that in mind. So we're just going to apply some base coat colour in here. We don't want to be going too close up to there, because that's where we're hopefully going to lacquer up to. So let's get some on. So just to reiterate, this is the base coat layer, this is the colour coat, this is the coat that should be matched to your car. Obviously this is white, your car might be metallic grey, black, whatever it is. This is the colour coat, base coat that we put on to try and cover the primer. That'll do for the first coat. So we're just going to aid the drying a little bit with this heat gun. We're not putting it right on it like that, it's just literally blowing some warm air across it. Time for the second coat. I had this aerosol can mixed up by Paint Gear. You can get your paint wherever you can source it from, wherever you normally get it from, and they matched it to my vehicle, this vehicle, Vanquish White. I gave them the code and they mixed me the aerosol up. It's really important to mention at this point that you need to be keeping your base coat colour layer away from where you're going to finish the repair, around the clear coat area. So we're on the lacquering stage now. We've done the colour coat, that's covered quite nice. Now there's two different types of the one that I'm using. Obviously one's smaller than the other. If it were just this bit obviously and some other little bits, I'd just use a small can, but I've got a pretty substantial amount of painting to do with the lacquer here, so I'm going to be using the big can in this. It's particularly important with this stuff that you wear a mask and the correct PPE, so I just need to mention that. This particular product is a actual proper 2K clear coat. It's also off the Paint Gear website. It's by Pro Excel. I love this product. It's a real 2K, so there's two products inside that can, and when you pull this grenade pin and shake it, the two products get mixed together, and that starts creating the catalyst for the 2K clear coat to be mixed within the can. Just before I put my mask on and begin spraying, what we're trying to do here is we've painted roughly up to here with the white base coat. We want to be painting up to this soft edge, so hopefully it should make a nice feathered blend. Okay, just round these underneath there where the overspray sort of goes half underneath it, doesn't quite cover it, and then the next stage will hopefully, once it's dry, we'll polish that in, and that's ideally what should happen. If you've got some fade out blender, some thinners blender, whatever you want to call it, whatever it's called in your country, I don't know, this is always quite handy to have, just to dust over. Once you've lacquered it, just dust those edges, just to melt down those edges a bit more. Not a necessity, but if you've got some, or you can get some, definitely worth having in your arsenal. Right, let's put down the first coat. I've got a mask on at this point, so the audio is a little bit muffled. What you just heard then, you didn't miss anything. I was just saying let's put the first coat down. That'll do for that coat. A little tip to wonder when you're putting on your second coat, just the surrounding areas, just give it a bit of a press with your finger. If it's really tacky, it's ready for the second coat. I was just saying there, a little tip, if you're wondering whether it's ready for the second coat, the next coat, just around the surrounding areas, just see how tacky it is on the masking tape. This coat is our second and final coat, so we want sort of full coverage, we want a nice shiny finish, don't want any dry patches or anywhere with mist, and we're just blowing that paint, that lacquer, just into those tunnel areas to create a nice fade out. Okay, if you've got some blender, now's the time to use it, pretty much immediately after you've lacquered. Just saying there, if you have got some blender, some fade out thinners, use it immediately after you put the lacquer on. And that's all it needs. So that's been drying overnight. Should be rock hard now, ready for the next stage. But let's have a look underneath and see what it's like. It's important that you leave your job a sufficient amount of time to dry, preferably overnight if you haven't got any means of drying it, such as heat lamps, or it's not a red hot day with sun directly on it. Just give yourself enough time. It'd be a real shame to ruin it at the next stage because a bit of a lack of patience and wanting to rush things. That's all the masking tape and the bagging and the overspray protection removed. So the next stage is we're gonna try and make the blend that we did with the lacquer a lot less visible. So let me just show you exactly what that looks like in a minute. So here's our fresh painted lacquer, and remember we put the masking tape rolled it back, made a little tunnel. And as you can see, the camera's sort of picking up that rough edge where the overspray is just flicked all underneath the tunnel that we made. Try and get it in the worst light possible. So there, you can see it there. And it should come all the way around. It's hard to catch it in the light there. So what we're actually going to have to do is we're going to have to get a polishing compound, a cutting compound, paste, and a buffer of some sort. And we're going to have to buff the rest of the bonnet, and then we're going to have to keep buffing all that rough edge so that we're removing the overspray. And if it works out how you want it to, it should create a pretty seamless repair between the old lacquer and the new lacquer. Earlier on in the video, I was using this stuff. It's Freckler G360 Superfast Compound. I will tag all these products that I'm using in the description so that you can find them. However, that is not the only compound polishing paste that I like to use. There's many on the market, so just for a bit of variation, we're going to be using this stuff. Again, I've tagged it in the description because you can probably get hold of this in different countries. So yeah, we're going to be using this stuff, so let's go. I've got my rotary again. I've got my 5-inch pad. I think we're ready to hit the bonnet. What we're doing now, guys, is we're just going to use a polishing machine. This is just a cheap one. It didn't cost a lot of money. We're using a polishing cutting pad. This one's from Paint Gear, a 5-inch pad, and we're going to start polishing the bonnet. We did it earlier, but we're just going to go over it all again. And throughout the next part of the process, we're going to be wanting to polish that blend out line, what we've created when we've done the tunnel with the lacquer, and we've used fade out as well. Hopefully, if it all goes to plan and we've done the fade out okay, it should create a seamless join between the old original lacquer and the new lacquer which we've applied. It's a bit of a balance at this point. It's a little bit tricky polishing in a fade out. You want to use a good compound because it's quite rough, but you don't want to be buffing one area too much, making it too hot. Just move the buffer around, check regularly, look at it from different angles and see how you're progressing. It's particularly important with a fade out repair that you do keep checking your progress, particularly when it comes to this stage. Make sure you have a look at the repair from different angles, trying to catch the light to try and find where your fade out marks might be. I can see that down here there's still a bit of a fade out mark, so this needs a bit more of a polish. It's just worth mentioning at this point, guys, not every single fade out that you ever do is going to turn out perfect. Let's remember that we are trying to save money. We're trying to not paint the bonnet. Painting the full bonnet would be the proper process. We're looking at ways of how to cut corners, really. So just try and manage your expectations when you're undertaking these repairs and the fade out area. A fade out area is where the lacquer's finished, but it doesn't finish perfectly how we want it. So you tend to get the lacquer and then you get like a blast of the overspray that's gone under the tunnel. We're looking to remove that overspray, but we're also looking to polish that edge nicely where the new clear coat lacquer meets the old clear coat lacquer or the original lacquer finish. That's the compromise, that's the balance. We've arrived at the final stage, guys. We're wiping down, we're doing a final inspection, we're making sure we're happy with everything, that everything's cleaned up nice, and yeah, hopefully it should start to look pretty good at this stage. So that is it, guys. We have done a bonnet smart repair, a spot repair, a localized repair, whatever you want to call it, to the bonnet of this white van. And this van is actually 19 years old. So it's looking pretty well, I think. Obviously the damage was down here. I'll play some old clips of what it looked like now. We repaired this section down here, and then we primered it, and then we base coated it a bit further, and then we lacquered it a bit further again as a fade out repair. We finally polished it up, and it's made the blend area a lot less visible. Not perfect, guys. We're not aiming for perfection. We're aiming for improvement and budget, and to save money and time and cost and all those things. And that is what I've tried to do with this video. So it's obviously worth mentioning this point just to reiterate the fact that this repair has been done low cost, low budget, no fancy tools, no compressors, no spray guns, no ovens or booths or anything like that. This has been done with DIY products, aerosol cans, rattle cans and basic stuff. I hope you like this video, guys. I hope you found it entertaining. I hope you find it useful. And if you're going to have a go yourself, I wish you all the best. Watch the video again if you have to, you know, get your tools together, watch it again, remind yourself what we've done, follow the processes, and good luck. And finally, thank you for watching my channel. I appreciate all of you, and I hope to see you in the next video. Cheers, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, hit subscribe.